Welcome to the Anything Academy podcast, where we negotiate, conversate, and segregate.
Scratch that last one.
I'm Deacon,
I'm Xander.
and today we're going to talk about Yesterday. So, Xander, how'd you like the film?
It was bad.
I agree with you on that. It wasn't terrible. It was just average. I expected more from it.
The plot was it was a good idea, and whoever came up with it is a genius. But when they actually tried to execute the idea, they fell short.
And I feel like they just would add stuff for jokes multiple times.
Yeah, and I feel like the love story even was so unnecessary and didn't belong in the movie.
Yeah, I agree.
And they never explained, this is the thing that frustrated me the most in the entire movie, they never explained why things other than the Beatles were forgotten too. Oasis and Coke and cigarettes, even Harry Potter.
Yeah, it was just kind of confusing at times where you just wouldn't you just wouldn't understand things. Sometimes it'll flash the name of songs, but then sometimes it flash the name of places. And randomly there was a scene where one of the balloons popped up, and I did not enjoy that. It was just, and the balloons looked terrible, out of CGI. It was just.
Yeah, I think the biggest negative about the movie is the way it was filmed.
It was just so
awkward.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Awkward and random.
Yeah.
You didn't know what to expect for each shot, and you couldn't follow, really.
I feel like whoever wrote the story chose the wrong people to help him bring the story to life.
Yeah.
Because the filming was a little off. The actors were
they were
not great.
Yes, they were not very good.
A fantastic
good
music
singer.
artist. A fantastic music artist, Ed Sheeran. A terrible actor. He's awful.
Dude.
You could tell he was acting. Hey, dude.
Yeah. It was, and so I feel like everything in the movie was crazy. The plot, the premise of the movie, I loved. That sounds like such a cool idea, and they could have brought specific things. They could have done specific things that would have made it better, but they just didn't do those things.
Yeah, we've noticed with Bohemian Rhapsody and the new Rocket Man movie, they're trying to show musician stories in movies, and I feel like this was a great way to do that in a different way, in a unique way.
Yeah.
Which is something I did like about the movie. They try to take this whole musician movie type thing in a different direction.
Mm-hmm. But what I was reading some reviews about this. There was one review that said you can drive a truck through the plot holes of this movie, which I agree with. But another one that I read, it said you're not a real if you don't like this movie, you're not a real Beatles fan. And I found that completely stupid. It's very dumb for someone to say that. Because I like the Beatles, I'm not a huge fan of them, but that doesn't mean that I have to like the movie. It has to be a good movie, and it was, what would you give it out of a rating?
I gave it a 5 out of 10, just because it wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen. There are a lot of positives I can give about it, but there are also an overwhelming amount of negatives.
Yeah, I would probably give it a 5 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10. So, honestly, it was and the problem was, I was it was slow at the beginning of the movie, and I expected it to pick up, and it just didn't. It just dragged throughout the whole movie.
But I do feel like the second half of the movie really was more interesting and more intriguing than the first half. That's true.
Well, because that's whenever I said, it tries to speed up, it tries to kick in, and it doesn't do that very well. But you still you are intrigued because the premise is so you just want everything to be figured out. But then at the end, they don't do that. It just ends on a Harry Potter joke, which I did not enjoy.
Yeah, I feel like, if I'm being honest, the main thing that was missing from this movie was development. It was it was not even there, and when it was there, it was super sloppy.
Yeah, and can I talk about the main character is not very likable.
He's ugly too.
Yeah.
Very ugly.
Well, and there's just one part that I don't like is that he loses his teeth. Just for 5 minutes, they just wrote a whole joke about him losing teeth, and then listen. Basically one of his friends, his lifelong friends, literally after. So listen, let's say your best friend in your whole world, you get hit by a truck, and then you see your best friend, and he makes fun of you for not having any teeth because he's missing 2 teeth. He makes fun of his friend for missing 2 teeth. He calls him a muppet. and that's really stupid. But and also like the character, he just isn't very likable. Like there's a scene where like he keeps on getting interrupted whenever he's about to play a song. He's like, "What are you guys doing? This is the best song ever written. You guys want to hear the best song ever written?" And everything. And it's just like, calm down, you know. I mean, it like "Let It Be" is a very good song, but he just because someone's like bothering you, you don't get to scream at them. And like another time that happens, and then he finally, like, this lady loved him his whole life. He finally falls in love with her, and then he's jealous of like the guy that actually loved her. You know what I'm saying?
I think my favorite part of the whole movie, because I thought it was such a brilliant concept, what is one of the most famous and notorious celebrity assassinations of all time?
Yeah.
John Lennon. And I love the fact that since the Beatles do not exist in this universe, they're saying that if the Beatles did not exist, John Lennon would still be alive.
That makes me think. Do you think that like maybe they had ideas for like an alternate reality, or like what do you think happened? Because so Coca-Cola was that wasn't believed in anymore. Neither was the Beatles and Harry Potter. So do you think they're trying to make theories of it, or you think that's just something that they hopped over that they didn't want to talk about?
Coke not existing obviously has something to do with like maybe drugs, and Harry Potter with magic or witchcraft, which are evil things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And like the
Beatles are just excuse our roommates.
Our roommates. This is our first podcast. Give us a break, guys. Come on.
Okay. Let's continue. So yeah, it just felt kind of sloppy.
Yeah, it was like it was missing a lot of things that it kind of needed.
Yeah, I agree with that. We just walked over to another room.
We made it to a more secure location.
But yeah, it also kind of felt like the story went by so slow, but the film felt like it was just rushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like there was a meeting where it was like, we have a 2-hour film to make, but we don't have room for everything that we need, and I feel like that's what made the movie so lackluster.
Mm-hmm. Like, for instance, you know how, like, scenes need multiple takes?
Yeah.
Well, like the, "Hey, dude," scene, it just went by like this. And it went like this, "Oh, I have an idea. Instead of 'Hey, Jude,' which the kids don't like, you should do 'Hey, dude.'" And he's like, "Hey, dude, are you sure about this?" And he's like, "Yeah, hey, dude, doo-da. And it's just like, you couldn't like put like more like...
And they never built on that later.
Yeah, they just didn't even make that a joke. Like, it wasn't even a funny joke. The movie honestly isn't that funny.
I find it so funny that they're like, guys, this movie's not gonna make that much money. So you know what we need? Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. Like, why? Like, I don't even get why they had to put
his role was so pointless. It didn't belong.
So it's like this. It starts off with him not in the movie. He pops up in the movie. He's gone. Pops up in it again, and he's gone. And it's just complicated, convoluted. I don't know. The whole movie, and the whole problem is I don't want it to be a bad movie. I want it to be a good movie so much.
I saw the trailer. I was like, this isn't going to be a great movie. Maybe even one of the best of the year. And I saw this movie, and I'm like, this is not what I wanted and not what I expected either.
Yeah, it has such a good premise, but they just didn't follow through with it.
Right.
They could have done so much, but they didn't. And guess what? It's a 2-hour-long movie. Like, 2 hours long, and they did nothing. Like nothing that they could have built on with the story. Except for, I stole all these Beatles songs. Sorry, now I'm gonna go fall in love. Like you can't, you have to come with like a grander theme. You could have said something about the, I don't know. Oh, and also you could have done something with two characters that they written. So people think that Jack Malik, he's the main character. He's the only one who remembers the Beatles or Coke or Harry Potter and all that stuff. But there's 2 other characters that remember it, and you know what they do inside the movie? Instead of like saying, "Oh, you stole their songs," or saying stuff like that, no, they're 2 random people, and they just say, thank you for playing these Beatles songs, because the world is a terrible place without the Beatles." So
you know what I think? I think this movie would have been better off as a TV show.
That's true, and they could have built up more.
Yeah.
And they could have built story more instead of having just a 2-hour-long pointless movie that just has a good premise, and you're only invested, and and the problem is, like, you know how, like, I invested in this movie, but it brought me nothing. Like at least I can say it's a movie that I can get invested in. But I invested in this movie and it brought me nothing at all, which is the biggest problem.
Yeah, I think Yesterday should have been a TV show and would have been way better and would have been great if it was a TV show.
Let's talk about the positive now. We have 5 minutes to talk about the positives. So, the main character, his voice, really good, really nice voice. He has a great voice. What do you have any other positives? Good premise. Obviously, we've been talking about that.
I have another negative.
What's another negative?
I feel like
so many.
I feel like when writing this story, it makes me think that the writer's idea was to have a movie that paid homage to the Beatles, and I feel like what it didn't do that much is pay homage to the Beatles.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it lacked that and was more just a story about this guy who is a liar.
Yeah.
And it's just like testing his morals. It wasn't really a Beatles movie. That was just a filler kind of thing, I guess.
And also, he may have stole their songs, but if this is like an alternate universe or the world forgot about all the Beatles and everything. And it's also stupid how they forgot from a blackout. Like, he got hit by a car or a bus while he was on his bike while the whole world blacked out. Like, there was just a worldwide blackout. Like all the electricity just went out. And then he wakes up in the hospital and no one remembers who the Beatles are.
Plus, the most unrealistic part of the movie is when he confesses and literally everyone in the crowd forgives him so easily.
Yeah, listen, they all boo at him, but it's like, one, you don't know who the Beatles are.
But I love
you
this
don't
girl,
know,
so it's fine.
You don't know who Paul McCartney is, John Lennon, or any of them. Oh, and the saddest... Oh, here's a really good positive, like you were talking about before, about how John Lennon was still alive and he just lived a good life with the woman that he loved and everything. That's so sad.
I love the actor that chose for John Lennon.
Yeah.
John Lennon has some good music on his own, too.
Yeah, he does. But, yeah, it's just... Like, there are always some positives, but, like, for every positive, there's, like, 2 negatives, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. This movie was... I did laugh, like... often in this movie, not because like it was funny, but it was because it was dumb.
Yeah.
It had dumb humor, which made me chuckle.
And I would laugh at the randomly the words would just flash on the screen, like, why do you have to add this as an element? And it's so confusing that you're doing songs and places. We were supposed to talk about for 5 minutes about how good the movie was, and we're still.
We couldn't figure out. We had more negatives. I was expecting this movie to be so great, and I'm so disappointed that.
That's why I don't like it that much, because I expected so much of it. It was gonna be way different than Rocket Man and Bohemian Rhapsody. It was gonna be so good, but then it just fell short so fast. And like, listen, so there's 5 minutes in the movie with just Jack Malik, not like Jack Malik and the whole world they know who the Beatles are. But then, boom, he gets hit by a bus, and then now that's the rest of the movie.
Yeah,
There's
they went too fast in the movie.
There's no build-up. And also, for some reason, he kept on mentioning the Beatles. Like she was like, oh, you're still going to be able to play guitar? He was like, yeah, but I'm not like the Beatles. And she was like, huh? And he didn't even know.
I hated how, when he played Yesterday for the first time, he was like, I didn't write it, Paul McCartney wrote it, the Beatles wrote it. And then when he confessed in the end of the movie, she's like, who are the Beatles? Like, he literally told you in the first, 30 minutes of the movie.
And also he was like I was talking about how he was a mean character a while ago. He was like, oh yeah, John I didn't write it. John McCartney wrote it, and Paul McCartney wrote it, and the Beatles. And then she was like, the Beatles, who are the Beatles? He's like, you don't know who the Beatles are? Are you guys just messing with me? I'm gonna yell at you guys because you guys don't know who the Beatles are and you're messing with me, even though I just got hit by a bus. Why would my friends mess with me? Which I understand why he would think his friends are messing with him whenever one of them made fun of him for losing teeth. So, but, yeah.
Yeah, I did not like... The main character was not likable.
No, not really. Just a good voice, that was really it. And he was an okay actor. I mean, he wasn't a terrible actor.
That was his first acting gig.
Yeah, I know. It's
Hollywood.
like introducing...
Yeah.
Whatever his name was.
I didn't recognize literally any actor in the movie except for Ed Sheeran.
Yeah. He's not even an actor.
He's not even an actor. I did not recognize a single person in that movie.
Is that his first acting role? He'd been acting a while.
No,
I don't think that's his first.
I don't think that's his first acting role.
It seemed like it was, though. Not gonna lie.
I found it funny that they mentioned Ed Sheeran's rapping career.
Oh yeah, that was funny. There were some funny jokes in there, but I think that was it. Really, that's our podcast. Thank you for tuning in. This was our first podcast we talked about yesterday, and our next one we'll find another movie to do. Thank you.